Right. Okay. So let's continue our video solution for the atoms and molecules. So let's take a look at the first question. It asks for the following molecules have the same number of atoms as sulfur dioxide molecule. So for sulfur dioxide, the formula is already given to you. It's given as SO2. So from here, it can be seen that it is made up of one sulfur atom and two oxygen atoms. So total, there are three atoms. So I guess the options are pretty straightforward. Just look for those with three atoms. Chlorine has two, H2O has three, N2O5 has seven, CO has two. So the answer for question 1 is B. Alright, for question 2, which diagram A, B, C, or D best represents a pure compound made of molecules? So the main idea over here, you see, they already bolded and underlined the word compound. This basically means it is made up of two or more types of atoms. All right. All right, it must be a compound. All right. So we take a look at the first one. These two white circles, they are considered as an element, and then these two are considered as the compound, right? So A is wrong because they're asking for a pure compound. All right. So B, although they are all the same, it is pure, but this is definitely not a compound because they're made up of the same atoms. So for B, this option is a pure element. All right. C, right, so you see it's the same black white circles. All right, it is made up of two types of atoms, therefore C is actually a pure compound. All right, if we take a look at D and B, they are very similar. D is also pure element, but this is in atoms, and for B this is molecule because they are two, right, atoms bonded together. Okay, question 3, which diagram A, B, C, or D best represents a pure element made up of molecules? So pure element made up of molecules, I think we already mentioned, right? Element is one type of atom. Molecule, I have two or more atoms chemically combined together. So if you look at them, I think D is actually the best answer, or rather is the only answer. Question 4, a compound consists of one carbon atom, three hydrogen atoms, and one chlorine atom. So which chemical formula represents the compound? This kind of question, just make sure you write out whatever they give you. All right, so one carbon, three hydrogen, one chlorine. So which one looks like this? Okay, D is the answer. Which row represents an ion? So ion, you must understand that P are not equals to E. Okay, P cannot be equals to E. So let's see which one the P and the E are not the same. D is the answer. See, 11 and 10, they're not the same. The rest are all the same. So the rest are called the atoms. D is called an ion. Question 6, the table below shows information on 4 atoms, W to Z. So which pair of atoms have the same chemical properties but different physical properties? So as mentioned in the class, when we talk about chemical properties, we're referring to valence electrons. So if the atoms, they have the same number of valence electrons, even though they may be different elements, they will have very similar chemical properties. Okay, physical properties are more dependent on neutrons. Okay, they're more dependent on neutrons. Okay, so same chemical properties, we're just looking at which one has the same number of valence electrons. So use the electronic configuration to help you. This will be 282, X will be 283, Y will be 282, and Z will be 2, 8, 8, 2, 5. No, actually it's 15. Okay, but right, so we don't care about this. Okay, we don't have to care about this. All right, so Z is definitely out of the picture. So we're looking at W and Y. Okay, W and Y will be the answer, C. 7, the proton number of sulfur is 16. How many valence electrons are there in an atom of silicon? So yeah, I think we also mentioned in class, right? Sulfur here, and then they talk about silicon here. Not sure why they're not the same. Okay, so silicon. All right, if you actually look to your periodic table, it belongs to group 14, right? So the number of valence electrons should be 4. Question 8. Which row represents an atom with a stable electronic configuration? Okay, so stable electronic configuration means the outermost shell must be fully filled. Okay, and then they have an atom here. Atom means P must be equals to E. The number of P must be equals to the number of E. Okay, so looking at 8, P and E the same. Let's find out first. A, 6 and 7, they're not the same. A is out. B, 8 and 8, they're the same. 10 and 10, they're the same. D, 12 and 10, D is out. Okay, so we're left with B and C to choose from. So stable electronic configuration means the outermost shell must be fully filled. So write out the electronic configuration to have a clearer look. 8 electrons, so the electronic configuration will be 2, 6. Whereas for C, it will be 2.8. So C has a fully filled valence shell. At the same time, it is also an atom because the number of P and number of E are the same. Okay, so we're done with the MCQ. Let's move on to the structured questions. So we'll probably stop at the MCQ, right? So from here on, I think we'll be warm up enough to do all the questions together. Okay, question 1. Atoms contain 3 types of subatomic particles. So I hope you all remember what they are: proton, neutron, and electron. Alright, so the symbol for proton. Okay, symbol for proton, generally we use the letter P, a small p, small n, and small e to represent these subatomic particles. Relative mass, okay, these are numbers that you need to remember. Okay, proton will be 1, neutron 1, electron is 1 over 1840. Okay, so what this means is, relative means is a ratio. Okay, relative mass means the ratio of their masses. So if proton and neutron, their relative masses or the ratio of their masses are 1 to 1, so I guess you should understand that, you know, proton and neutron, they do have the same number, same mass. All right, electron is 1 over 1840. So what does this number actually means is that electron, I need 1840 electrons to make up the mass of either 1 proton or 1 neutron. All right. Okay, so next we move on to relative charge for proton. +1. Okay, if you just put a 1, you will not be marked correct. Okay, neutron is neutral, no charge, and electron is -1. Okay, location within the atom, so we just tell them whether are they residing in the nucleus or are they in the electron shell. So for proton will be nucleus. Okay, remember nucleus is NuCleus. All right, NuCleus, and this will be the electron shell. Okay, so these are fundamentals for the subatomic particles. Okay, question 2. Using a periodic table, write down the chemical symbols used to represent the following elements, or name the atoms that have the following chemical symbols. Okay, write down the chemical symbols used to represent. Okay, or name the atoms. Okay, so basically this is the chemical symbol, this will be the name of the atoms. Okay, this one is, you just need to, you know, go to your periodic table and find them. Hydrogen is H, big H. Lithium is big L, small I. Carbon is C, big C. Oxygen is O, big O. Neon is Ne, big E, big N, small e. Okay, the name of the atoms for Na, this is sodium. Mg is magnesium. B is boron. F is fluorine. He is helium. Okay. Okay, question 3. Determine the number of protons, electrons, and neutrons for the following atoms. So number of protons. So over here we put the number of P. Number of electron, this is the E. But they are talking about what? Atoms, right? So P and E must be the same. So the moment you write the P, you can write in the E. Okay, number of neutrons. So this will be the big number minus a small number, right? Okay, so where do we get a proton number from? The smaller number. So 9. In this case, E must be equal to P because we're talking about atoms, right? Atoms, they will always have the same number of P and E. Okay, neutrons will be 19 minus 9, I get 10. All right, boron 5, 11 minus 5 equals to 6. 11, 23 minus 11 equals to 12. And hydrogen is H11. Okay, the 1 is actually spilled over to the next page. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So be very careful, okay? sometimes MCQ they might ask, which of the following or which of the sentence is true, and then they say like, all atoms must contain neutrons. That is actually quite tricky because in fact most of the atoms they have neutrons, okay, but in the periodic table your hydrogen is the only one without a neutron. Okay, so for oxygen will be 8, and 16 minus 8 equals to 8. Okay. All right, moving on to question 5. Fill in the table. Isotope 8160, 8170, 8180. Let me see. 3 isotopes of oxygen. Okay. So they are all oxygen, right? So number of electrons. Okay, we can fill out the number of electrons first. Okay. Number of electrons we can actually use which one? Wait, let me see. I think there's some problem with this, right? 18. Let me see. 8, 17. I think they are okay. I think the representation is a bit problematic here. Not sure if your file has this problem, but I'm guessing it should be 8, 16 like that. Okay. 8, 17, 8, 18. Okay, it should be this. All right. Okay, so the number of neutrons and number of electrons, let's work on the number of electrons first, since the number of electrons and proton will always be the same, all right, because we're talking about the atoms, right? So in this case, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, okay? And number of neutrons will be the big number minus the small number. 16 minus 8, 8. Next is 17 minus 8, 9. And lastly, I have 18 minus 8, 10, okay? Next, we move on to isotope definition. So this one, be very careful. I mentioned it in class before, so please remember, okay? We're talking about elements with the same number of protons but a different number of neutrons. Okay, nothing to do with the electrons. Okay, from part A, give a reason why isotopes they have similar chemical properties. So they already say from part A, right? So you're supposed to get the answer from A, the table here. Okay, so I mentioned before, right, in one of the MCQ questions just now. Which one is it? I mentioned, right, chemical properties or chemical reactions are dependent on the valence electrons. Okay, so if you look at the isotopes again, they all have 8 electrons, right? So electronic configuration is all 2, 6. So what's the thing that you observe here? All right, they all have the same number of electrons. Okay, question 6. We are supposed to fill in the numbers and the whole table. So let's see. All right, sodium is 23, 11. So how would the symbol look like? It will look like this. Okay, neutrons will be 23 minus 11 equals to 12. Okay, formula for sodium atom and A. Okay, calcium ion. All right, careful. It is Na2 plus, Ca2 plus here. Okay, so the number of atomic number is 20 if you look up for the periodic table. Electrons is 18, neutron will be 40, minus 20 equals to 20. Okay, so if you realize there are 2 less electrons, right? That's why it has a charge of 2 plus. Okay, because electrons are negative. Alright, if I have less of it, a negative of a negative is positive. Next, we're talking about fluoride ion. Okay, mass number for fluoride, if you go to the periodic table, your fluorine should be 19. Okay, you follow the fluorine because the only difference between an atom and an ion is the number of electrons. Neutrons and protons should stay the same. Okay, so 19. Okay, so electron is I have 9 proton and I have 10 electrons, right? So in this case, I have 1 more electron, and electron is negative, right? We just said it. So F minus would be the formula of the ion. Okay, then last page. All right, question 7. The electronic structure of an atom of an element is shown in the diagram below. So state the proton number of the atom and explain how you derive your answer. Okay, there is nothing. I cannot see the nucleus. Right, so how do I know how many protons there are? Alright, remember we mentioned about the word atom. Every time you see atom, it means that number of protons must be equal to the number of electrons. We can see the number of electrons, right? So the first shell has 2, 1, 2. Second shell is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 2, 8 is 10 already. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So total of 15 electrons. So what's the proton number? 15. Okay? All atoms, okay, this is the explanation, have the same number of protons and electrons. Okay? Right, so in this case, they want us to state the period number and the group number. Okay, so remember what I mentioned about period number? Period number equals to electron shells. How many electron shells? Group number refers to the valence electrons. Okay, so over here, you see how many electron shells? 1 shell, 2 shells, and 3 shells. So, period 3. Group number, see? Wait, so group number is what? Shouldn't look at this, we should look at the 283, 285, right? Okay, I have 5 valence electrons, so group number will be 15. Okay, the second number always resemble the, it is the number of the valence electrons. Okay, see, with reference to the periodic table, name this element and state its nucleon number, right? So if I'm not wrong, 15, it should be phosphorus. The name, they want name, right? Wait, how come it's not moving anymore? Oh dear, my pencil is not working suddenly. Okay, maybe it ran out of batteries. Okay, but all right, I think it's pretty straightforward, huh? So for question C, it says with reference to the periodic table, right? Name this element and state its nucleon number. So it should be phosphorus. Okay, go and look at the periodic table. It should be phosphorus. And remember, do not write P. I know the symbol is P. Okay, but the question asks to name the element. So you must write phosphorus, the name, and the nucleon number will be the bigger number. It should be 31, right? Okay. And D, describe in terms of electrons what happens when this atom becomes an ion. Okay, so I want you to look at the electronic configuration. Okay, look at the electronic configuration. Okay, oh, it's back. 285. Okay, so over here it is not stable because the outermost shell is not fully filled, right? So it would rather either gain 3 electrons to become 288 or lose 5 electrons to become 28. So remember I mentioned in class that, you know, elements, atoms, nature, we tend to always want to find shortcuts, right? So in this case, it is easier to gain 3 rather than to lose 5. So it will gain 3 electrons, okay? So what happens, we just tell them that the atom will gain 3 electrons. Okay, but we don't just stop there because this is a 2 marks question. So we need to be a little, we give a little more substance. The atom will gain 3 electrons to form an ion, okay, of formula P3 minus. Okay, or you can say form an ion of charge -3. Okay, all right, so with that I think that's it for this chapter. All right, so wish you all the best for the E or Y. Okay, bye bye.